So we all love it when someone fills out a Connect card in our church, and especially when they say they're interested in serving. But how do we take them from filling out that Connect card to serving in a specific position? Well, today on Practical Church Planting, we're going to be talking about that process, and we're going to be talking about how to follow up with an interested volunteer. Welcome back to Practical Church Planting, where in 15 minutes or less, we'll give you practical tips, advice, and encouragement to help you plant and grow healthy churches. My name is Brian Androsi, and joining me today is not Dylan Dodson, as you can probably see if you're watching the video, but it's my wife, Brittany.
Hello.
Hey, Brittany. And today we're talking about how to follow up with interested volunteers. And so Brittany's joining today because she is the Connections Director here at New City. And so she's the one who's in charge of plugging people into serving and kind of over all of our different serve teams here, all of our volunteers. We don't call them volunteers, but all of our serve teams here at New City. And so wanted to get the expert's opinion here. So we're going to talk about how to follow up with with interested volunteers. And so that really all starts with a Connect card, right? Mm-hmm. So why don't you walk us through or I guess before we even do that, what's the point of having a follow-up process? Why is that an important thing to have?
I think it's important to have a follow-up process. One, to just set clear expectations, letting people know what the serve positions are, where the need is, and why we do what we do, but also to just talk more about the mission of the church. Very important to always explaining the why of our serve team positions. You know, if you don't know why you're doing it, you won't continue to do it, or you may not even like it. Yeah.
So would you think, or in your opinion, how early do you need something like this? Because say someone's watching and they're thinking, we just planted, or maybe we haven't even planted, I've only got a handful of people coming around. If someone comes up to me and says, I want to serve, it's pretty easy for me to just put them somewhere. Yeah. So when is it necessary to have a process, or is it always necessary?
I would say it's necessary from day one, even as you're starting your launch team, before you even go into launch day, just having the set expectations already. I know as a church plant, because I've been involved with a few different church plants, that you're just trying to grab everyone you can, and there's a lot of needs, and so you just plug people everywhere. But what I have found is that if you're not doing this process, it's easy to burn out. It's easy to not like what you're doing and quit. And so if you can already set expectations and have a process, find where people are passionate about, and have good on-ramps and off-ramps and setting boundaries, you're more likely to have people that stick and people that will be involved in church for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. So take us through it. So you get a Connect card every Sunday. The Connect cards go to you, right?
Yes.
So what do you do with it? What's Sunday afternoon or Monday or whatever the next step is?
Yeah, so one of the things that we have in the Connect cards is they can check a box that say, I like to serve. And the first thing that I like to do with that is within 24 to 48 hours, I am following up, whether it's an email or a phone call. With a female, because I am female, it's easy for me to do a phone call. If it is a male, I'm going to email them and ask them when we can have a phone call or when we can meet. But really, I just want to hear their story, want to hear what brought them to New City, want to hear about how God is working in their life, and want to hear about any past experience, if there's somewhere that they really want to serve, before I start talking about what serving looks like at New City.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. So you ask where they want to serve. So you think that's, in your opinion, it's more important than just kind of filling a need, right? So why, if you have a hole, why would you want to get what they want to do versus just putting them where that hole is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been in charge of kids ministry for a long time before I was a connections pastor or connections director, and so one of the most common things I had was that I always needed people. So that was just an easy place for people to plug in, come serve. But what I have found is that when people don't want to be there, it suffers in the ministry. And so even if it's like something like coffee or greeting, you don't want to have anybody there that doesn't want to be there. Again, it just goes back to the mission of why we do what we do. And so they need to be able to buy in on why it's important. And so if they don't like being there, put them where they're passionate. I have found that when you put someone where they're gifted and put someone where they want to be, they're going to go above expectations. They're going to go above and beyond and be able to serve people really well.
Yeah, I'm curious if maybe you haven't experienced this, but I'm just kind of thinking of myself, if I were to show up to a church and just want to serve somewhere, if you had someone that just said, I don't care where, I'm just happy to serve, I don't care. Do you take that as, all right, I'll decide for you, or do you kind of prod them more to actually get what they want to do?
Yeah, and so I kind of give our biggest needs before I ask them where I want them to serve, so that I don't have that answer. I used to have one of the most common answers is, yeah, I just want to fill a need. I just want to be needed. I'll serve wherever you want. But that's not realistic.
Yeah, totally.
People do have preferences. People do know what they like and what they don't like. And so when someone signs up to serve, I'm already knowing what the 3 biggest areas in my church are. And whether it's an area I'm in charge of or not, I'm offering them all. And so when someone signs up to serve right now at New City, I'm going to be offering them production, kids ministry, and videography, and seeing if that's a different area, if that's areas they'd consider. Yeah. Once you give them options, they will tell you if they like those or not. Yeah. Many people are yes kids or no kids, yeah, right. Or I don't have experience in videography or what, and then you can dive into more conversations about, okay, well, what do you see yourself doing? What have you enjoyed? What did you like about coming to New City? What did you not like? How did you feel welcomed? And they'll be able to answer those questions for you.
Cool. So let's dive into that process. So the process is obviously going to look different depending on where they're volunteering, right? If they're going into worship, then first step would most likely after a conversation be an audition and things like that. But say someone just wants to greet or wants to be kind of in the lobby or first impressions, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Walk us through the process of what it would look like for someone like that.
Yeah, so they fill out their Connect card. They say they want to serve. I'm going to connect with them either phone or email and find a time that we can have a 5-minute conversation. I really just want to hear their story, hear their testimony a little bit, hear how God is working in their life, and be able to talk about where our needs are. After that conversation, we'll kind of figure out a place where they're going to sign up to serve. And so whether that be greeting, whether that be coffee, the first thing that we're going to do is have them come in to shadow somebody. We never have them just start by themselves. And I truly believe that the shadowing process changes everything. One gives the person that is teaching, it gives them more ownership, helps them feel more valuable, like they're contributing to the church, that they're doing something. And the person that's working with them, that is shadowing that day, it also helps them develop relationships from day one. And so they're bonding with someone else that's not me, and they're developing relationships with people specific to their team, which is just so important. And so they'll go through that shadow process. And after they shadow someone that first time, I'm going to follow up within 48 hours again, ask them how it went, ask them if they had any questions, what was fun about it, what was challenging, ask if they enjoyed it, or if they'd like to try somewhere new. It's hard to figure out exactly where you want to be within just one Sunday. And so for most people, they're like, yeah, I enjoy it, I want to keep doing it. And so then we start to have a conversation on expectations from there forward. For me personally, I'm asked for 6 months if you are new to serving. And so it gives them an easy on-ramp and it gives them an easy off-ramp if they don't like it. And so I tell people, I want you to serve where you want to be. I want you to be passionate about where you're serving. And so let's try this for 6 months, 1 to 2 times a month, depending on what we've talked about before. I ask what time they're able to give. I explain what it's going to take. And then we set that expectation right there. Okay, it's going to be 6 months. And the way we serve here at New City is we serve by first, second, third, and fourth Sunday. And so we have that conversation then too, like you are going to be a third Sunday greeter. And so what that means is every single month on that third Sunday, it's you. Yeah. And so the expectations are already set. Doesn't mean that they can't take vacation or they can't do things on that third Sunday, but they'll be more apt to find someone else to fill in for them if we already set those expectations.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And a couple of things that you mentioned. First off, that you always pair somebody with somebody to shadow. And I think that's really interesting because I think especially if you're in a smaller church context, it can be really easy to just think they're just opening a door. Like And on the surface level, that's a 2-minute conversation. Someone walks up, open the door for them, and smile. Like that's I think a lot of times those of us that aren't really in these positions kind of think that's all that there is to it. And so I feel like it can be real easy for us just to make everything be real surface level and just throw someone into it. But I like the shadowing because you are building a relationship with somebody before you even start. And I think if you just throw someone who's new to the church into serving, they're intimidated to talk to anybody. They're not going to talk to a guest, And so if you pair them with someone, I think that's really good. And so you give them a 6 month, or you ask for a 6 month commitment.
Yeah. I think also with the shadow process, it's someone that serves in that position knows more than I do. I don't do coffee every week, so I can't tell you what little thing happens at 11:02 a.m. every Sunday or how much decaf to have. And so someone that already serves in that position already knows those things.
Yeah, that's good. And it's like building a team atmosphere before they even really, when they get on the team. So you give them a 6 month, or you ask for a 6 month commitment.
Yes.
What happens at the end of 6 months?
Well, what I have found is when I ask for a 6-month commitment, it's ongoing.
Yeah,
they continue to love it. I've never really had someone on board off. They sign up for another year or another 6 months.
So you just have the conversation towards the end of you want to continue. And when someone's doing something for 6 months, I mean, if they hated it, you would have known by then. Right. So that's kind of what it looks like for greeting in that area. Does it look? I think the two biggest areas that people volunteer in is something like first impressions or greeting or kids ministry. So you don't necessarily have to walk through the whole process, but what's the difference in onboarding someone in kids ministry?
Yeah, so kids ministry is a little bit different because you have to provide safety back there. So you're doing more things like background checks and interviewing and reference checks. And so when someone signs up to serve in kids ministry, and after we've already met and had that conversation that's where they want to be, the next thing that I do is a background check. And so we just use Checker through Planning Center. It's already built in. I love Checker. And we do a background check and we do a reference check. And then also it's a longer type interview that I have with them. It's not just a 5-minute conversation. I do want to hear about their kids' experience or their relationship with Jesus, just because it's more an influence role and they're teaching others. So I want to be able to hear about how God is working in their life. And so after we've done the background check and we've done the reference check, they then will come in for a 30-minute safety and policy orientation. And so I like to do that on the same day that they're shadowing. We get everything done in the same day. And so we had this happen this past Sunday. Our service starts at 9:30 and we had them come in at 8:30, and from 8:30 to 9, they were just doing the safety and policy orientation. And so we went through all that stuff. They attended our team huddle, so they got to see what the team atmosphere was, which was just so much fun. And then they went to shadow in their classroom. And again, we'll do the same follow-up process afterwards. How did it go? For kids ministry, because they're able to attend one and go one, I usually ask for a bigger commitment. I'll ask for 2 times a month. If they can give me 3 times a month, that's great. I talk about the why, that we want to have consistency for our kids. It's important for them to know who their leaders are. And so we'll set the expectation right there. You're going to be a 1 and 3, or you're going to be a 2 and 4 Sunday. And again, asking for that 6-month commitment.
That's good. So I think, needless to say, you're not a person that's, if you have kids, you automatically serve in kids ministry and just kind of throw everyone back there. No, I think that's really good. I mean, especially with kids, I think we can kind of look at it as less than it actually is. I mean, they are teaching kids possibly for the first and only time about Jesus. And so to actually get some background on them, make sure that they're willing to do that and not just throwing any old volunteer back there, I think that's really good. So needless to say, have a follow-up process. And regardless of what that process looks like, but have it and stick to it. Right? And so I think the biggest things that looks like is pair them with somebody. Make sure you're the one sitting down with them and following up with them right away, not waiting till next week. And then pair them with somebody and have them train for, I don't know if you have like a set amount of time for each position, but for as long as it needs, and then have them be a part of that team. And ask for a commitment, ask for a 6-month commitment is what we do, at least. I mean, I think that's a good amount of time. Any last things you want to add?
I would just say that it's important to have this process, not only because you want to get people to serve, or you want to have the best process, but what I have found when you don't have a process is that it's easy for people to get burnt out quickly.
For sure.
Or to just say, I'll serve every Sunday. I'm here. I'll serve. And you keep asking different things. And when you're not developing what they're passionate about or helping them move towards God and with their spiritual gifts, it's easy for people to get burnt out. And so that's what we're trying to avoid here. We're trying to avoid people walking away from serving. Serving is a part of what we do as followers of Christ, and we get to do it. It's so exciting. And so having this process just helps people understand the why. It helps them to be able to use their gifts specifically that they have. And that's really good. I think we can, I think a lot of people probably feel guilty saying what they actually want to do because they're good people. They want to fill a need. And so, but I think a lot of people feel kind of guilty saying, no, I want to do this specific thing. So having that be the first question of what do you actually want to do, I think is really good and really helps people develop, like you said, develop what their gift actually is. So that's great. So thanks for joining us today on Practical Church Planting. As always, you can go to practicalplanting.com/questions with any questions about volunteers, church planting, ministry, life, who cares, whatever. But practicalplanting.com/questions. Until next time, we'll see you on Practical Church Planting.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Practical Church Planning. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Practical Planning, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you like or subscribe or do whatever it's telling you to do or should do on that platform.
And hey, if you are so tired of looking at our ugly faces, but you're not tired of listening to our beautiful voices, then you can find our podcast if you just search Practical Church Planning on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure not to just find it, not just to listen, but to subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Brian, tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.